Hello everyone, welcome back. In this episode of Bitcoin Trade, I'm going to be talking about this here. I've done an episode in the past regarding this when the news first came out about these two Floridians. Um, anyways, the title, the headline of this story, let me get here. Alright, sorry. So here is the source of the news, and there is the author, and there's the title. And so looks like the title is Bitcoin Foundation urges court to dismiss charge in Florida local Bitcoins case. Now I'm not a lawyer in any way, but I don't think that's going to happen. Again, I'm not a lawyer. I haven't really followed up on this, mainly because I don't care about those two gentlemen. But I do care. What I do care about is, how the state of Florida is setting the tone for the use of Bitcoins in particular, but also in general cryptocurrencies, or I could just say the use of nothing, right? Because cryptocurrencies don't exist at all. So buying and selling nothing, how do you regulate that? How do you regulate buying and selling nothing? I don't know. And exchanging it for, trading it for money. How do you regulate buying and selling nothing? Literally buying and selling nothing. But anyways, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. It's a concern for me because anything that restricts the use of Bitcoin in particular causes concern for me. Mainly because it goes against some of the things that I believe, which is absolute free will. So there's going to be quite a bit of challenge for the Bitcoin Foundation. Maybe not. I'm not a lawyer. But it seems to me that the state of Florida would like to make an example of these two gentlemen. And they've really gone out of their way to do so. I don't necessarily agree with the transactions that occurred and how the transaction occurred as well. But at the same time, I'm concerned because it seems like, now it may not be, maybe, but it seems like they're specifically targeting high volume investors, or traders. And I'm not sure if this is something that they're specifically targeting, but I don't think it's going to be dismissed. And unfortunately, I also think that the foundation really chose a very poor example, or some very weak cases to defend. And so as I read this, and I've read the deposition, I don't know if anything else has come of it, or what their defense is going to be. I think from what I read, they're making a defense that they were individually trading, which makes them exempt from a money business service and a money transmission to be registered in that way, or a money transmitter. And so, but I did read the statute, so I don't think they would have prosecuted unless they really felt they can get a conviction. But at the same time, I also think it brings fear to the people of Florida who use Bitcoins. And I just can't allow that to happen. I cannot allow any state, any government, any regulatory body to instill, to instill fear for the people who use Bitcoins for their own use and their own benefit. And so I might have to go to Florida. I might have to get real in the state of Florida. I'm going to have to come out of my virtual reality and enter into the state of Florida. And, I think I'd be a more better candidate for this kind of case, for dismissal, than these two gentlemen. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I am compelled to go to Florida now. And I wanted to see how this is going to turn out, but I don't think I can wait anymore. I think this is a cause for action for me, and so I'll probably be in Florida. Anyways, that's something I wanted to talk about real quick. I don't know if this is a good idea. I wouldn't say it's a weak case. I think they could do something, but what I don't like about it is there's several things I don't like about the whole thing. First thing, it seemed like a setup in some ways, but at the same time, these two defendants, I guess you could say defendants, I don't know, the two accused of the crimes, I think they were specifically targeted to make an example, to instill fear in the state of Florida, to instill fear for the Floridians for using Bitcoins in particular, but in general any cryptocurrency, or I can just say to instill fear on what you can do with your money, specifically buying and selling nothing. And so I think it's important that I make my case in the state of Florida, and if anything, I think I'd make a better case than these two gentlemen to have any charges dismissed. So my personal feelings is that under the laws, that a Bitcoin user is protected from both persecution and prosecution. So, and it's kind of important, because if you give an inch, they'll just keep taking more and more until you have no rights, until you become like Canada for the most part. And they only take it because you allow them to have it. And so I think this is another place where I'll have to make a stand, and I'll stand up tall and straight. In my name I bear witness, and that will be my testimony. So I just want to quickly bring that up before I go to a chart analysis. So let's go to a chart analysis here. So here we go. Now, so this is a 12-hour. This is Bitfin, and I'm just going to Bitfin for now because mainly because last time I checked, they were the highest in volume as far as US dollar, Bitcoin to US dollar. So I trade in US dollar to Bitcoin, so it makes sense for me to look at this. And you know, I don't have any Chinese money, so it's hard for me to trade in you know, Chinese money to Bitcoin because I'm not in China. Anyways, here's the overall trade or overall chart, and I'm going to specifically focus on obviously this portion right here because we all know what happened already. But in my previous episode, I've mentioned how momentum trading, what else? The price only does three things: up, down, and sideways, right? Up, down, side. Mainly, it really does only two things: up and down. But as you can see, this would be an example of a sideways uptrend, downtrend. So, you know, I know this is like the no-brainer, but at the same time, I think a lot of people who trade tend to forget about the basics. And the fact is, if you just have the basics down of trading, that's all you ever need to do. There's only a couple things, you know, up, down, sideways. But, you know, with those three combinations, you could come up with an infinite amount of strategy. Okay, life just tends to really be nothing more than a simple operation compounded by other simple operations, right? So that makes it complex. So you can make it as complex or as many different strategies as you want to infinity, just on those three things alone: up, down, and sideways, right? So, okay, so let's take a look at the recent activity here. And if you've been watching, you've noticed what I've said is basically it's following this trend down. It'll break through, it'll hit this, it'll come down, and it'll hit this line right here, this average. And in doing so, it might bounce up, but you see, as it gets closer, and these two averages get closer, you're seeing a trend reversal, a possible trend reversal. So again, you know, predicting is not always accurate, and the past does not always reflect the future. But you know, you just can't ignore it either. So you know, there seems to be, you just have to be immersed in Bitcoin to understand the pulse, the ebbs and flows, as people would say. So if you're just coming on board and you're just starting to trade, this may all seem like, you know, BS to you. But if you go to anyone who's been trading for a long time, and in Bitcoin, you know, I would say if you've been trading 6 months in Bitcoin, you're probably well seasoned in training. In trading. But if you're just in it and you never traded before, you know, for me, Bitcoin's literally is like hyper trading. And the fact that, well, especially the way I do it, because I'm trading from my own account, so I'm trading with my own money in real, you know, amounts. I'm not leveraging. I'm not taking other people's money. I'm not trading for other people. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I am literally trading for myself. And so I'm risking my own funds, and you know, and that's what's going to protect you under the law. All right. Um, so protect you from both persecution and prosecution. So as you see here, you see that it did hit up on the 25 period average, bounces back down, which that's what I did mention. And as you notice in this particular chart analysis, I'm not using any lines or anything, but you could use lines, because if you look, and I'll draw a line here just to show you. So I'm going to draw a line just from here to, let's say, one of these points. Okay, there you go. See, look at that. And so if you drew a line here, you would see that it hit up there and did not pass that kind of point, but it also hit up against this 25 period average. Sorry if it's not focusing and all that here. Let me try to do this here. There we go. So there you go. And see how it correlates to the averages as well. And so what you're seeing is a hit up and a bounce back from that. And it wouldn't surprise me that it starts pushing up again, because if you look at this 10 period average, it's turned upwards. So it's the general trend, the short period of trend right here is turning up. And you see these lines are getting really close. But it doesn't always mean that it's gonna break up or break out. It could just hit this thing again and fall back down, or even drastically go down. But also I want to show you something else. So I'm gonna make that line for you. Oh, sorry. I'll do it again. So I'm gonna, in this episode, I'm actually making lines while I'm doing it. And then, you know, you don't have to do what I do, but I did want to show you there is something to it. And again, this is a although this, you know, this may seem like trading at your stock exchange or your brokerage or stuff like that, but it's not. It's not no damn you know, Charles Schwab or Ameritrade or Scottrade or what else is there? Well, whatever brokerage you use, it's not a brokerage at all. Okay. These are open exchanges. They're not closed exchanges. These are open. So the reaction you're seeing is a crowd reaction, a crowd consensus of people who have absolute free will. There's nobody controlling the gates. Well, not in the same way as like a stock exchange or a or NASDAQ or anything like that. No one's controlling the gates other than the exchange itself, but it's an open exchange. In other words, you can take your Bitcoins in as easy as you can take it out, or take it out as easy as you can put it in. And I want to talk about some other things here as well, which I think is really going to shed some light on why Bitcoins are so drastically different than current financial institutions that trade in the same way. Okay, so basically there's a line, and then if you look here, oh, there you go. There's the other line. It's going into a triangle. Typically what happens here, and I'll back up and so you can see. So you're getting a good triangle right here, and so you got the rise. It didn't, you know, you got this breaking through here, but it bounced back up and bounced here to go up again. So this line here is really significant, and it's also significant because if you see here, it's broken here and then it's taken a rest and it's gone up from there as well. So the fact that you can put these two lines here and then all of a sudden you see a nice triangle, and a triangle that makes sense as well, and the two averages also correlate as well. So, you know, what you could be seeing in the future, and again, I'm going to give you multiple possibilities because I don't know what's really going to happen, but it should help you position yourself for a breakup or breakdown. Okay? So, typically what happens is when it hits and it bounces up here and hits this line, and also hits this average and bounces back, and it would make sense to put a little buy right here, thinking it would bounce again and then break through or just bounce around, but you know, it doesn't happen that way. That'd be too easy. It's so obvious. What will happen though is that from this middle point right here where it is, it's probably the best place to position yourself. But the thing is, when I say position yourself, either you can put some buy orders on top or sell orders on the bottom, or you can actually buy or sell at this point. That's what I mean by position yourself. You got to decide. Do you want it to go up or do you want it to go down? So remember, this is a crowd source of pricing, or I don't know if that's a good way to say it, but the prices come from the open source crowd. Okay? In other words, it's an open exchange. You can take your Bitcoins out just as easy as you could put in, as long as the exchange is operating and, haven't gotten their Bitcoin stolen. But so far, it seems to be that way. So that's the major difference. So there you go. You got some lines, you got some averages here, and you're seeing a pattern. Now there's a potential for, I think, more of a breakout, because I don't think any regulations has made any difference in the way Bitcoins operate. Even the New York regulations, or Canadian regulations, or Russian regulations, or whatever, even Ecuador. I mean, Ecuador banned Bitcoin. Didn't really do a whole lot. Nobody cares about Ecuador. So, there's some things that just, obviously from the price action, these things don't matter because they don't make a difference. What would make a difference is if a country, a nation, a state, whatever, adopts Bitcoin as legal tender, or its national currency, or accepts Bitcoin as currency in their country. That's going to make a difference. As far as places that ban Bitcoin, it could have some temporary negative price action, but realistically it's not going to do a damn thing, because you cannot control something that does not exist. It doesn't exist. Bitcoins don't exist at all. And if you're looking at it outside perspective, if you're not involved in Bitcoins in any way, when you look at what's happening, what you're seeing is just people buying and selling nothing. Nothing is being bought and sold. Now, when I say nothing, I don't mean like nothing. I mean nothing as in, as in something. Nothing is also something. I could say they're buying air. Okay, let's put it that way. A lot of people need to think of something as a physical matter, because they've been enslaved in this physical world so long. They don't even know that they can be free from it and have absolute free will to create, to do things, create your own world. They're so stuck in this world, they feel that they are nothing more than slaves of it, that they just accept the fact that, this is it. Someone needs to tell me how to live my life. Somebody needs to tell me what I can and cannot do. Somebody needs to take care of me. And for that, I give up my life. I give up my freedom. There's some people that do that, um, and it's a shame. Anyways, so um, this is different. So another thing I want to talk about here real quick is the difference between buying from an exchange and buying from a miner, or buying from someone who has bitcoins. Okay. Um, the difference between buying on the exchange, like you want to get Bitcoin, so you figure, well, Bitcoins, um, I could buy Bitcoins, at one of these many exchanges. They send their money in and they buy Bitcoins, or they buy Bitcoins and then they put them in the exchanges and then sell them, and that's how you get money in, and then you could buy and sell whatever. Well, there's a difference between that and then trading in peer to peer. Okay, trading person to person amongst each other at free will. Okay, and here's the difference: is if you look at here at these numbers here, you see the market depth. Well, if you're gonna buy like 0.0001 Bitcoin, you're not going to move the price, and most likely you'll get the price that you want, or very close to the price that you want. But if you're going to buy 1,000 Bitcoins or sell 1,000 Bitcoins, you have to go through all these people that have their position. You have to go through all those positions. So when you sell, you're not selling at 582. You're selling at all these going down. So as you go through each and every one of these, and unless someone actually has like 1,000 Bitcoins right here that they have a limit order for, then you'll get that price. But you're not going to see that. Not that much. I've seen people put 100, 300, but it doesn't. It seems like it never goes there because no one's going to break through it. And if you do break through it, I mean it's rare. You have to really stick around and watch the market depth to see it, and it may not even be at the price you want. What if the price went down here and someone has a buy order here? Would you keep selling? You probably wouldn't sell here. If for example, if the price was up here and someone had a buy order of 1,000 and you had 1,000 Bitcoins, you might have it that way, but you're not gonna. I don't think you're gonna see that when the price goes up. You're not gonna see people trying to sell their Bitcoins. Uh, you know, just in my opinion. And plus, you have to stick around and be here to see it. And I believe some of these are bots, because I've bought here. I'll see a number here, like it'll be like 100 Bitcoins or 20 Bitcoins or whatever, and I'll buy like 0.0000, a fractional amount of Bitcoins, and I'll hit that. I'll hit that position, and then the position after I hit it, boop, disappears. I mean, just like now I trade on this, and I'm not that fast, but a, basically a trading bot is that fast. So when I see things like that, even if you saw a large number, as soon as you hit it, it won't be there for very long. That's what I've noticed. So that's the difference between trading on the exchanges, is that when you buy and sell on these exchanges, you're not getting the price you want. You're paying more, and then you're also selling for less, and that's a huge difference. You're not going to get the price that you want compared to trading with a person, because your trades with a person, there is no market depth. And ideally, when you trade with a person, you trade based on the spot price, ideally. No one's going to go look at this and say, well, I'm going to trade 4 Bitcoins at this price, and then 1 Bitcoin at this price, and 12 Bitcoins at that price. They don't do that. They just look at the spot price, and if they have 1,000 Bitcoins, they will trade you 1,000 Bitcoins at that spot price. So when you buy or sell, you're not going to get you don't have to go through all these and pay more. You're just going to pay that amount. And when you sell your Bitcoins, you're not going to have to go through all of this and pay less. You know, as you're going down and hitting these, the price is going down, so you're not going to get this price, you're going to get a lower price than that. So that's a major, major difference. So, and the great thing is, I do use these prices as indices only. So based on availability, you can dictate your own price if you trade peer-to-peer. And so there's a major difference between buying and selling Bitcoins in the physical world, in reality, versus only in virtual reality. Okay? I would recommend doing both, because you need to come in and out of your virtual reality. You need to come back into reality, trade in the physical world. And that's how you, for me, that's how, Bitcoins only exist in virtual reality. The challenge is, how do you bring that Bitcoin, that nothing, that's something that nothing that doesn't exist at all, how do you bring that out into reality? How do you make it real? That's a challenge. And once you can figure out that challenge, you'll realize Bitcoins are real. And once you can do that, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And then everything that I talked about, get real. Bringing your virtual reality into the physical world. That's real. It is possible. You can do it. So, Bitcoin has changed my life. All right? And it's more than just a currency. It's a way of life. So that's kind of what I want to talk about here. I hope that helps you, and I hope that helps you trade. And I encourage people to trade more in physical life, in the real world. And so that's why this is such a concern for me. Anything that restricts the use of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general, or I should say nothing, goes against everything I believe. Goes against the fundamental nature of absolute free will. So this is a place where I feel like I have to stand tall and straight. In my name, I bear witness, and that'll be by my testimony. So, Florida, here I come. I'm going to come out of my virtual reality and into your world, and I'm going to trade. I'm going to trade there. I'm going to invest into your state, and I'm going to change the way maybe some of the regulators or law enforcement views of Bitcoin, and I want them to understand that that users of Bitcoin are protected under the law from both persecution and prosecution. So, but then, I don't care about these two guys. But what I do care about is to ensure that users of Bitcoin are not harassed, they're not being targeted, their rights are not being abridged in any way. So there you go. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to comment, like, dislike, even do a video response. Until next time, stay tuned.